Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Ashia. I am from GD Goenka University. Today we will be discussing housekeeping module and the name of the module is Contract and Outsourcing. After completing this module, student will be able to understand the concept of contract and outsourcing, learn the significance of contracts and outsourcing, explore the process of outsourcing, identify various types of contracts and the services offered by them, understand the ways of pricing contracts, describe various advantages and disadvantages of using contracted services. Let us understand the concept of outsourcing. Let us understand about the concept. Hotels are increasingly opting for contract services and outsourcing contracts to sustain cost-effective housekeeping operation and to ensure that the resource and asset of property are utilized to the maximum. There is a significant global shift in the housekeeping operations from internally run operations to using an outsourcing contractor agency. Outsourcing is the process of contracting an existing business function or process of an organization to an independent organization and ceasing to perform that function or process internally, instead purchasing it as service. It may also involve transfer of employees involved to the outsourcing business partner. Outsourcing became popular in 21st century. It helps in improving the performance of an organization in their core competencies and mitigate shortage of skill or expertise in the areas where they want to outsource. The number of companies offering outsourcing services and the types of outsourcing services available are growing rapidly. In India also, many hotels and corporate companies are relying on these professional housekeeping of outsourcing services for dealing with their day-to-day tasks or requirements. Contract may be defined as an agreement enforceable by law made between two or more persons by which rights are acquired by one or more to act for fairness of the part of the others, as per Indian Contract Act 1872, or it may be defined as an agreement between two parties negotiating a business deal. On the other hand, outsourcing may be defined as a conscious business decision to move internal work to an external provider, or outsourcing means that the company divests itself of the resources to fulfill a particular activity to another company to focus more effectively on its own competencies, said by Navy in 2000. Or outsourcing is the decision and subsequent transfer process by which activities that constitute a function that earlier have been carried out within the company are instead purchased from an external supplier. Next, we will discuss essential elements of contract. First, offer and acceptance. In order to create a valid contract, there must be a lawful offer by one party and lawful acceptance of the same by the other party. As per the Contract Act, Section 2A of the Contract Act defines offer as when one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with the view of obtaining the assent of that other to such act, he is said to make an offer. Section 2B of the Contract Act states that when the person to whom the offer is made signifies his assent thereto, the offer is said to be accepted. Next, legal relation. In case there is no such intention on the part of parties, there is no contract. Agreement of social or domestic nature do not contemplate legal relations. Capability. The parties to an agreement must be competent. If either of the parties does not have the ability to contract, the contract is not valid. According to the contract law, following persons are incompetent to contract. Minor. Minor is a person less than age of 18 years. Any person who is unable to understand the term and condition of contracts at the time of its formation is unsound mind. person disqualified by law to which they are subject. Free consent. Consent means the parties must have agreed upon the same thing in the same sense. An agreement should be made by free consent of the parties. According to the section 14, consent is said to be free when it is not caused by 1. Coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, mistake. Next is certainty. According to section 29, agreement meaning of which is not certain or capable of being made certain are void. For example, A agreed to sell to B 100 tons of oil. There is nothing to show what kind of oil intended. The agreement is void due to the absence of certainty. But if A is dealer of coconut oil, only agrees to sell B 100 ton of oil, all the nature of A trade is sufficient to show the kind of oil, and this will be a valid contract. Next point is promise of performance. Conditions for a contract should be capable for performance. If the act is impossible in itself, physically or legally, if cannot be enforced at law. For example, if A and B makes an agreement that B enclose a space with the help of 2 straight lines, then A will pay him rupees 1000, otherwise B will be liable for paying rupees 500 to A. This is an impossible work. 2 straight lines cannot enclose a space, hence contract is not valid. Writing and registration. An oral contract is perfectly valid contract except in those cases where writing, registration, etc. is required by some state. In India, writing is required in cases of sale, mortgage, lease and gift of immovable property, negotiable instruments, memorandum and articles of association of a company, etc. Registration is required in case of documents coming within the scope of section 17 of the Registration Act. All the elements mentioned above must be in order to make a valid contract. If one of them is absent, the agreement does not become a valid contract. Process of outsourcing consists 3 phases. First phase, the strategic phase. 3 main questions in the strategic phase which we usually ask are: what is the motive to outsource? It focuses on core competencies, focus on efficiency or effectiveness, focus on services. Next question what we ask is, what activates candidates for outsourcing? Transaction cost approach or core competency approach? Last question, what qualifications should be a supplier require? Supplier selection process or monitoring practices in supplier partnership can help in that. The transition phase. Our sourcing transition can be very complex. The transfer should be conducted using project management principles, that is, assignment of a dedicated project manager by its sound transition and plan and project timeline with milestones. Outsourcer should provide training and support to provider if necessary. The operational phase. It is in the operational phase that the outsourcing will deliver its expected results. Successful outsourcing depends heavily on close cooperation with the supplier. McQuiston identifies 6 core values are being critical to a successful outsourcing relationship. In cases where trust and interpersonal relationships are not present, parties try to arrange for dealing with these risks and uncertainties by detailed outsourcing contracts. Following are the risks associated with the contracts. Technical risk, it is related to the extent to which the supplier is able to provide the desired functionality and performance. Commercial risk, it is related to the uncertainty with regard to the price we will pay and cost that will incur when having outsourcing our activities to the supplier. Contractual risk, example, does the contractor describes in sufficient detail the performance that is expected from the supplier? Performance risk, it is related to the chance that the supplier is not capable of doing the job he was hired for. A number of authors stated that in dealing with these risks, Detailed contracts will not solve the problem. Trust and partnership are more important. Next, we will discuss type of housekeeping outsourcing contracts. Complete cleaning programs with all the work and responsibility undertaken by the service provider. Regular selected cleaning within an establishment to assist the existing housekeeping staff. For example, the cleaning of the public area at night. Periodic services to assist existing housekeeping operations such as window cleaning, cleaning of walls and ceilings, cleaning of carpets, hiring contracts with various rental firms for linen equipments, conference utilities, etc. Leasing contracts for equipments, furniture and furnishings which are drawn up for a given number of years. For furniture and upholstery, these are usually written for a 5 to 7 year lease period. For soft furnishings, the lease is generally for 3 years. Entire housekeeping operations of the property put out on contract by hotel with the whole range of housekeeping activities becoming the responsibilities of the contractor. Consultancy services, where a housekeeping expert visits the hotel and guides the existing staff on achieving professional standards. Housekeeping contract offers following services. Cleaning, this can be on consultancy basis or specialist work, example deep cleaning. Contract cleaners provide both general and specialized services which can include general cleaning of public rooms, toilets, kitchen, provision of bathroom cleaning services, periodic cleaning of walls, ceiling, carpets, upholstery and different services. Linen hire, full linen hire services or specialized items, example uniform, towels, banqueting items, etc. Laundry, completely or partly. Personal services products, shoe cleaning machines, dispensers for towels, soap, dust control, pest control, refuse collection, horticulture and landscaping. Equipments and furniture hire, flower arrangements and decorations. Eco-friendly garbage disposal, pest control. Other services like shoe polishing machine, guest amenities such as hangers, etc. Things to consider while hiring contract services. Open tenders for multiple service providers and compare their quotes for better options. Market credibility is also one of the important factors before contracting. Check references thoroughly and visit other job sites. Check whether the contractor is registered and licensed under the Contract Labour Act 1970 of Government of India. Try to select a local contractor. Check whether workers are trained or not. Check on the level to which the contractor provider takes responsibility of supervision of the work. Detailed contract specification needs to be prepared indicating the duration of working hours, operational hours and responsibility, processes to be followed, frequency of service, timetable and any special project. The effect on the current employees with regard to possible redundancy and redeployment. Now we will discuss the guidelines to make a successful outsourcing contract. Welcoming attitude should be carried to make a positive first impression on the contracted employees at the time of arrival and review of job parameters. Visit the job site shortly after work has begun to ensure that workers are working as per hotel expectations. Give the project a spot check and a rundown at completion to review the contractor's work and to ensure that specifications are being met. Avoid advance payments, equipments and supplies of the contractor and the hotel should be kept separately. Ingredients of a successful contract. It is vital that executive housekeeper provides the service provider with a clearly defined and detailed specification of the work needs to be done, processes to be followed and duration, etc. From the details provided by the management, contractor finalizes the area on which he can work. Appropriate language should be used while drafting contracts so that it will decrease the probability of confusion. Next, we will discuss important points should be covered in contract are as follows: the period or duration of the contract, date of signing the contract, and a provision for regular review of the specification. Proper scheduling should be done, highlighting which areas to be serviced and at what frequency it should be done. This is important as the level of cleanliness depends on the time lapse between successive cleaning processes. For example, table floors or horizontal surfaces may require daily dusting, whereas walls, windows or vertical surfaces can be managed by weekly dusting. Standard operating procedures stating method, equipments and materials required, and also hotel quality expectation should be mentioned in the contract. Appropriate penalty amendment and cancellation clauses should be mentioned. A list of security requirements. Sometimes all contract staff are vetted and specific rooms have to be kept locked. An allocation for storage areas, lockers, and perhaps accommodation for the contracted staff. A provision for adequate supervision, listing the hotel requirement specifically. The time expectation for the job, covering sickness and annual leaves. A verification of the insurance coverage for workers, guests, hotel employees, and assets. Specified frequencies of inspection agreed upon the service provider. Payment terms and conditions should be clearly mentioned, and the condition of termination should be penned down clearly. Both parties should sign these contract specifications. What are the methods used for costing contracts? The method used to assess the cost of contract depends on its type, size of the job being carried out, skills required, policy of company, and budget. Type. It refers to the type or category of the organization where these contract services are required. In case of hotels, it could be star category hotel, resort, motel, hotels, etc. Size of the job being carried out. Size here means number of rooms, number of outlets, complete housekeeping operations of a hotel or area in which service required to be performed. Next is skill required. Different skills are required to perform different tasks, for example, window cleaning, floor polishing, silverware or bronzeware polishing, carpet shampooing. All of them required different equipments and skills to perform them. Next is policy of company. Policy is a course or principle of action adopted or proposed by an organization or individual. All have different policies made by their management. At the end, budget. Budget refers to the money one organization can invest in operation. It affects majorly on contracting or outsourcing as it dictates one's affordability. Following are the methods used for contract costing. Number 1. Management fee consultancy basis. The customer provides his own labor, equipments, materials, etc. and the contractor provides the management with the expertise and possible supervisory staff. Next is fixed periodic cost. It may be made either as a total cost or cost per unit of work. This is a very commonly used method and is available in two forms. Uncontrolled input. The contractor agrees to provide a service of a given nature for a specific cost. There is no indication of the number of workers, hour worked, or the types of equipment and material used. Therefore, it is essential that the specification is detailed indeed. Second is controlled input. This type of contract also specifies the minimum number of workers, hour work, and other equipments. Next method of costing is cost plus profit percent basis. This has an advantage of providing a perfectly viable, flexible program as the customer is free to determine his own needs as things change. Example, low occupancy due to weather conditions. This also provides incentives for the contractor to increase his basic cost in order to earn more profit. Next method is cost plus fixed fee basis. This contractor is reimbursed for all costs like that of equipment, material, labor, etc., and is paid a fixed fee for management of the programs. This provides a flexible program along with elimination of any incentive to spend more money. Next method for costing contract is unit rate agreements. The most contracts are agreed on unit rate basis. The details of the area to be covered and the job frequency is given by the executive housekeeper. The service provider is asked to give the cost as per the area. The cost is calculated on the basis of area measured by the contractor. The cost is calculated in this way: man hours is equal to areas multiplied by time and multiplied by frequencies. Let us understand this by an example. If a contracted firm has to clean 5 different areas, taking 2 hours each, twice a week, and then man hours will be calculated as areas is equal to 5, time is equal to 2 hours, frequency is equal to 2 times. Then man hours is equal to 5 multiplied by 2 hours is equal to 20 hours. To the cost of wages for workers and supervisors, the firm adds cost of equipments, agents and supplies plus overheads and profits, and then quotes a price. Advantages of outsourcing or contracted services. A budget can be worked out accurately because the price is known for a given period and possibly cheaper than direct labor and services. The contractor is responsible for recruiting, training, paying or dismissing of contractual workers. Contract services eliminate many of the problems between management and the unions. The contract company may offer bigger pay than the direct labor and therefore attract more qualified and competent staff. Eliminates the need to buy specialized equipments and permit extra work without the need of increasing the staff. Specialized contracts may be able to cope more easily in case of emergencies. Termination of these services is easier and faster than the services of regular employees. Avoid capital blockage in big equipments which is not required on daily basis. The contracted labor is responsible for finishing work without which they cannot leave the place, as it is an accountability of a contractor. The hotel receives the benefits of the service providers up to date know-how in their area of expertise and of the latest equipment and technology. Extra work may be carried out at certain times with the basic contracted staff. Now we will see some disadvantages of contracted services. Contract fee or cost may be too high for the acceptor, weakens management authority over the quality and loyalty of staff working in the premises. Control is loosened over operations. Poor supervision. There is a natural tendency of the contractor to use poor quality of products which can cause damage to the building, furniture, image of the hotel and decrease guest satisfaction levels, etc. Security may be weakened because of labor turnover. There is often no solution if a contractor does not carry out his work properly except to terminate the contract. It could lead problems in interdepartmental coordination also. Contract cleaners may not meet the hotel expectation in terms of quality level. One of the reasons for the same could be a huge increase in number of contract or outsourcing service providers, which is resulting in a trend of hiring contractors which are offering same services on a lower price. At the end, let us summarize the complete module. In the beginning of this chapter, concept of contract and outsourcing had been discussed. The contractor and outsourcing both have been defined here in their correct sense, and though they are now often used as interchangeably. Elements of contracts are clearly defined, so it will help in understanding the concept of contract much better. Various types of contracts are being listed and also explain which sort of services they offer. Guidelines as to how to zero down upon an ideal service provider has been given. After the management has decided for which company to be contracted, there are some ways shared to take maximum out of the service providers. The most important aspect of the contractor is the drawing up of the contract specifications, which has been explained properly in the topic. Hotel management usually appoints lawyers to deal with all the contracts and outsourcing, as it involves various legal formalities and all. Costing is very important because it is directly affects budget and hence revenue. Its methods are explained by giving examples. Finally, some advantage and disadvantages are also mentioned to sum up the learning of the complete contract and outsourcing chapter. Thank you.